Well, thanks, Joan, and thanks everybody for being at this symposium today. I'm going to present to you today on the Estuary EMPA monitoring program here in California, with my talk being titled the Monitoring for Management, a Modular Ecosystem Function-Based Assessment Framework to Assess Estuarine Condition. I want to start off with saying this is a collaborative effort. You can see the list of PIs along the bottom of the title slide. It's a collaborative effort between here on the Central Coast, Moss Landing Marine Labs, with folks down in Southern California Coastal Water Research Project, and CSU Long Beach. And then on the North Coast, we have Sonoma State University and UC Davis, along with UCLA helping out with eDNA and the California Water Board, San Francisco Bay region doing overall technical support. California has a wide variety of estuaries within its boundaries due to changes in rainfall with latitude, changes in geology across the state, leading to a high variety of different types of estuaries with different factors leading to, different stressors leading to different levels of condition within those estuaries. So along the North Coast and some of our Central Coast areas, we have coastal lakes and lagoons, which have relatively small watersheds, but large bodies of water here on the left, with a large sand spit across the front. We also have open embayments throughout the state, Humboldt Bay, Drake's Estero, Tomales Bay, Moro Bay, these large perennial estuaries with relatively large salt marsh areas. And then we have these small, more river mouth lagoons and creek mouth lagoons that close off seasonally to the ocean environment. So for part of the year, they're tidal, and for other parts of the year, we have more of a freshwater embayment or a hypersaline embayment behind a beach berm. With this high variety of estuaries comes many decisions that will affect what happens in those estuaries. So we've got flow management, we've got potential mitigation projects, we've got new nature-based solutions going in to protect, whether it be habitat or infrastructure. The constant efforts of restoration of estuarine habitats, as well as contaminant discharge in them. And to assess these effectively, we need to have a management system that requires consistent monitoring and assessment. And this is something that has lacked in California for quite some time. Challenges to large-scale monitoring of estuaries in California includes, as I said before, this wide range of heterogeneous environments across the state. We have a wide variety of estuary types, sizes, and levels of stress on those estuaries. We also have differing management needs. There's a huge variety of different management organizations that take care of these systems, whether it be government agencies, nonprofits, local agencies, and whatnot. And their needs for those monitoring programs highly differ. There are existing monitoring programs in California, whether it be the National Estuarine Research Reserve, the National Estuary Program, the San Onofre Nuclear Generation Station Mitigation Monitoring Program. In general, these different monitoring programs utilize different methodologies and different databases to store their data in. So there's not a lot of communication between them. And as the last step states here, data storage and sharing. There are multiple data storage and sharing websites and online systems within California that don't have a lot of communication between them. In 2022, the Decadal Management Review completed by the Department of Fish and Wildlife and Ocean Protection Council of the Marine Protected Area Marine Protected Areas in California, it was determined that the state was unable to include estuaries in the review because there was no consistent assessment of the condition and effectiveness of estuarine EMPA designation in California. In California, we have 124 marine protected areas, including onshore estuarine and offshore MPAs. And 23 of those are estuarine MPAs. As a result, OPC funded the creation of the California Estuary Marine Protected Area Monitoring Program to assess the quality and condition of these estuaries statewide. So not just for the MPAs, but developing a program for estuarine assessment statewide. The program goal for the Estuary MPA monitoring program is to develop a standard, comprehensive, function-based assessment framework to determine the health of California's estuaries and the efficacy of MPA designation. Some of the main questions include how healthy are California's estuaries, and is the health improving over time? What are key stressors impacting estuaries, and how resilient are the estuaries to those stressors over time? And how effective are our management actions, whether it be restoration, mitigation, or regulatory protection? Since 2021, we have expanded our monitoring of estuaries across California. We start off with 15 estuaries from 10 Mile in the north down to the lagoon, some of the lagoons in Southern California. But since then, we've added additional estuaries. So now we're up to about 33 estuaries. And you can see they represent a variety of type and MPA designation. We're also collaborating with folks down in Baja. So we've got two estuaries down in Baja that are using similar methodologies. You can see we've got MPAs and non-MPAs, as well as intermittently open and closing systems, as well as perennially open systems. The estuary monitoring program consists of several elements that together work to address the key management issues. So we have got our assessment framework. This is the backbone of the monitoring program, a function-based assessment. We have got our standard operating procedures. There are 14 different SOPs to standardize data collection. We've got an online data management system that allows for proper QA of the data with automatic data checkers and dissemination of the data. We've got an established sampling design, which describes specifically what to do when you're out in the field, as far as where to place monitoring stations, how to complete the SOPs, how often to complete those SOPs, and finally, an implementation strategy. We wrote up a blueprint for implementation of this program, incorporating it into existing monitoring and regulatory programs. And all this can work to better assess key management issues, looking at such as flow management, mitigation, nature-based solutions, and restoration. So getting at the assessment framework, as I said, it's a function-based assessment to determine the health of California's estuaries. It's modular, flexible, and adaptable to accommodate different programmatic needs and heterogeneous landscapes across the state. We have a comprehensive set of SOPs and QA measures to bridge the gap between data collection and utility for management. And we have this integrated user-friendly data management system to increase transparency of the data, the accessibility of data, and quality control. The framework takes an ecosystem-based approach, as I said before, in assessing the condition of estuarine functions, with the underlying principle that all healthy estuaries provide a suite of ecological functions and ecosystem services and that failure to do so is an indication of degradation. This approach is unique in that it focuses on assessing function rather than assessing species or specific habitats. This builds in flexibility for application within a highly heterogeneous state like California. And our technical team identified 9 priority ecological functions to focus our framework around: primary and secondary production, nutrient cycling, nekton, nursery, and bird habitat provision, shellfish support of vascular plants, and sea level rise amelioration. Simultaneously, this technical team thought about the indicators to use to assess a given function, where the multiple indicators can be linked to a given ecological function. Here's a little zoom in, where green squares represent the indicators that can be used to evaluate a given function. This allows it to be modular in that programs or agencies can prioritize functions for inclusion based on the programmatic needs and the estuary type. Multiple indicators can be used to assess a given function, and functions can be added over time if needed. So here's the overall table looking at the 9 different functions along the left-hand side of the screen here, and the various indicators along the top. And you can see individual green squares line up with individual functions, and those would be the SOPs that would be implemented in the field to assess that function. Just for example, for sea level rise amelioration, we've got marsh plain vegetation community, marsh plain elevation and inundation, sediment accretion, general habitat condition using the California Rapid Assessment Method, and then other level 1 or map-based indicators of condition. Those specific SOPs, as I mentioned before, there are 14 of them grouped into kind of physical parameters, looking at water quality and sediment and topographic complexity and sediment accretion. Biotic indicators looking at benthic infauna, SAB, fish, and invertebrate communities. And then general overall community composition looking at eDNA and general habitat condition utilizing the California Rapid Assessment Method. We have an integrated data management system, empa.scorp.org. There you can download all of the various SOPs, the data sheets, the data forms for upload of data. You can upload and download data. Everything is available in a single location. And you can also view the data in a map-based system coming soon. Just as a quick example of one of those analyses of function, we have the vascular plant support. So for each of those functions, we come up with a standard condition statement or definition, and then developed individual condition statements that were based on the SOPs assigned to that function. So we had 7 different SOPs assigned to this individual function. We developed those, what a high-performing estuary would be, given each of those SOPs and the data they are collected. We then ran through an analysis for each of those individual condition statements and came up with a score for each estuary. So here we have along the the left-hand column, each of the estuaries from north to south that we analyzed. And then along the top here, we've got each of our various condition statements with scores ranging from 1 to 3. Now, at this point, what we're doing is comparing amongst systems, not to a defined benchmark. So within the 15 estuaries that were assessed for this project, we can look at good, fair, poor amongst those, but not compared to some gold standard. Here's an example output, map-based imagery of what that would look like with color-coded estuaries going from north to south, showing good, fair, and we didn't actually have any poor with this one. The question is, how do we realize our vision? How do we move from our products to the application of the monitoring program? We're doing this through partnerships. So we're incorporating the assessment protocols into regional and local monitoring programs, including Climate Resilient Monterey Bay and the Southern California Bight Regional Monitoring Program. We're using indicators and protocols in mitigation monitoring requirements and performance standards for permit and grant-funded restoration, working with the California Coastal Commission and California State Coastal Conservancy. And we are developing and implementing a Sentinel site reference site monitoring program with the regional monitoring program in Southern California. And that Sentinel site monitoring program will utilize the EMPA monitoring framework. And finally, we're working to incorporate existing data from existing monitoring programs, including the estuarine research reserves and NEPs, into our data portal to increase the amount of data coming in. This is very much a state, regional, and local collaborative. So at the state level, we've got various agencies. At the regional level, we've got existing monitoring programs. And then at the local level, we've got friends of groups and universities working to implement the monitoring program. And that is the end of my presentation. If there's any questions, please let me know.